and welcome to the third and final episode in our Q2 TGIF webinar series. I'm Alex York-White, Director of Vendor Business Development for Fortinet here at Exclusive Networks. And today's topic is MSSP transformation. And presenting today for us will be Fortinet's very own Stephan Tallent, Senior Director of MSSP and Service Enablement, who we're very excited to have with us. Next slide, please. All of our regular attendees will have seen this slide before, but for any of our new attendees, this slide represents just a few of Exclusive Networks' differentiators. One of our key contributions to the industry is that we only specialize in cybersecurity in the cloud, maintaining specialization within a narrow set of best-of-breed vendors. In this way, Exclusive Networks assists the channel community with vendor-specific and generic training, sales, design, implementation, pre-staging, and of course, supply chain logistics, both domestically and globally, filling in the gaps, helping many different types of partners to supply and deliver relevant multi-vendor solutions to their customers. And at this point, I would like to hand over to the enigmatic Stephan Tallent for today's presentation.
All right. So, real pleasure to be here. Big fan of Exclusive Networks and looking to help MSSP partners and MSP partners that are moving into a more security service orientation grow their practice out. So what we're going to be talking about today is some different aspects of growth that we think are good for partners to focus on as you look to add more of a security service orientation to what you're doing. If you're doing security services now, how you can evolve your security service offering into something that is more, on point with what is happening now with the changes in the market that have been impacted by the pandemic here and has impacted the service industry, creating opportunities and some change as well. So first, what we'd like to do is talk a little bit about the corporate overview of Fortinet. For those of you that are not familiar with Fortinet, talk a little bit about the company and where we're at in the market and some other aspects of that of corporate relevant stuff. Sorry, Sound of Freedom. Those are Marine F-18s flying overhead, so I apologize. Can't stop the military from doing their stuff. We'll also talk about, go get them, boys. Trends in managed security services, security transformation, the evolution of your security service practice and what that might look like, and then how Fortinet helps you grow your MSSP business. And so let's jump into it. So first and foremost, if you're not familiar with Fortinet, we're the #1 shipping security vendor in the world today. So awesome stuff. I've been here for 8 years. When I got here 8 years ago, it was nothing like this from a size and scope perspective. I think the stock was like $17 a share. It hit $134 a share last week. So the company is growing fast. And I think it's really a result of the fact that we've been really heavily technology focused. Really building the best security technology in the industry, and this is starting to really play itself out and illustrate, the quality and the efficacy of the security products that we put into the market. So, $19 billion market cap, that's huge, right? We're headed towards $2 billion in annual revenue. Lots of customers out there, and I think one of the more important components is we spend a lot of money on research and development, which really bleeds into the fact that the technology is effective as it is. We spend a lot of time and effort in developing the security capabilities and ensuring that they are meeting the demands that have been resultant of the higher level of sophistication of the threat actors out there. 70+ patents, so we're continuing to innovate our technology. Also by acquisition. So for those of you that don't know, we bought CyberSponse in December of 2019, a SOAR platform that's already was integrated into what we do from a technology alliance perspective. As well as in Silo, an EDR solution that's best in breed that was also a technology alliance partner. So doing a lot of internal development ourselves, but also via acquisition to try to round out the service suite. Really the goal is to be that one-stop shop for managed security service providers and service purveyors to be able to limit the amount of training and support that they need to focus on multiple different vendors and really become that single source provider from a security perspective. So big company, 7,500 employees, give or take, US headquartered in Sunnyvale, California, 25,000 partners out there today. So really a truly global operation and a global footprint. consistently recognized by by Gartner. You know, we've obviously for the firewall aspect, we've been recognized as a leader. For the SD-WAN component, we're a top challenger. So, you know, getting the kind of recognition that helps you from a sales perspective whenever you're talking to your customers, you know, Gartner is widely respected from an analysis perspective. So just helpful from your own business development perspective. So enough of the commercial about Fortinet. Let's talk about dominant trends in the industry and where you should be focusing your time and effort, right? So for one, I think it's interesting to note that, you know, when I joined Fortinet, we would go to RSA, right? The big security conference in San Francisco. And we would see customers walking the floors and trying to figure out what security vendor was going to be the best one for them. You know, they would go into the due diligence process of understanding the features and benefits of each of these security vendors. And then they'd make an active decision as to what, you know, security vendor they wanted to put into their network. Well, that's changed, right? And really, I think it's a result of the high level of complexity and the massive number of security vendors that are out there today, thousands and thousands of security vendors. So, you know, customers are looking at like, okay, I can't deal with all of this information. There are way too many vendors. They all say they're the best for me. So really what the shift has been is customers are looking to consume business outcomes and not products. And I think that's a big shift in the market. And really what's happening is customers are looking to consume security as a utility. They want to buy security as a service. They want to do it, you know, consume security the same way they consume water and power. You know, they want to get a monthly bill. They want the smart humans, all the technology, all that stuff to be handled for them so that they can consume security as a service. And it's really a result of the fact that the sophistication of the attackers is causing this higher level of complexity of the different technologies that are needed to keep them out of the network. So really what customers are looking to do is, you know, focus on what they do best from a security, from a you know, a technology perspective. They're looking for an MSSP to come in and vet out the security vendors and provide it to them in a monthly fee that they can consume that way, right? Digital transformation is impactful. You know, it's happening, right? So it's not a marketing term. When I first heard the term, I thought that, you know, okay, who threw a stack of $100 bills into a room full of marketing people and told them to, you know, give us something else to sell? Fact of the matter is digital transformation is impactful to businesses of all sizes, and we're going to talk a little bit about what that means, right, and how that impacts a security service sale, right? So unplanned by CISOs, you know, they're basically not even taking into account the security ramifications, which creates opportunity for us. And we'll talk about that in a minute. SD-WAN is big from a digital transformation perspective. You know, digital transformation is driving that SD-WAN growth that you see out there. And you may be thinking that maybe it's, you know, replacing MPLS and all that, but actually it's the digital transformation that's driving the SD-WAN adoption that we see in a big way. We'll get into more details on that. So if you're looking at the market, you know, this is very conservative numbers, right? So Gartner is exceedingly conservative when they put their projections together. If you go out and look at different analysis, different analyst firms will be more aggressive with the growth numbers. Some are putting it at, you know, 25% or something crazy. You know, I think it's pretty conservative and wouldn't be an overstatement to expect that the managed services or managed security services business is going to grow at about a 17% compound annual growth rate. To, you know, be about $16 billion this year. So it's a big growing market. It's not going anywhere. And, you know, customers are increasingly looking to move away from buying it and doing it themselves and move more towards that as a service model. And this is an interesting report, right? So we did this study in 2019 of 100 CISOs that crossed the demographics of size and scope. And increasingly what they were coming back to us and saying is that they turn to the security service provider to help them guide their cybersecurity issues and challenges, right? What should they do about cybersecurity challenges? It's not like it used to be. It used to be the integrator, right? The value-added reseller was sort of the guiding force behind, you know, the cybersecurity challenges that were impacting the businesses. And now it's become increasingly that security service provider is the trusted resource for information on how to meet the challenges facing businesses today. So I think this also plays into the fact that the industry is growing really rapidly, the market. So let's talk about digital transformation. I think this is an important opportunity for managed security service providers, because really what we're seeing is all these IoT devices are dropping into networks. You know, the refrigerator sensors, the light switches, all of these things that are designed to make the business more efficient, are being dropped into networks, and it's creating a big security problem that is also in effect creating an opportunity for managed security services. And this is its own opportunity, right? So you can talk about the security asset management aspect of, managing firewalls, deploying them, watching them, dealing with them, troubleshooting, implementing new security features and stuff like that. That's one opportunity, but securing IoT devices and the data-driven aspects that are really driving, IoT devices into the networks is another opportunity in and of itself. So really exciting time from that perspective. 80% of CISOs say that IoT is a significant impact on their business. So what this means is that they're implementing all of these IoT devices in their network to become more data-driven and to become more efficient. And they're planning after the fact, like, oh, holy smokes, I did what? I've got what in my network? So 22% of these CISOs are basically saying, they're evaluating risk after the fact. And any of you that have been in sales, I've been in sales for a long, long time. Urgency breeds revenue generation, right? So when there's urgency, you've got your customers moving towards their checkbooks. So a good level of urgency around that. So what is digital transformation and why is it impactful from a security perspective, right? For one, digital transformation is happening. It is happening unabated, and oftentimes with security being an afterthought, which is alarming, but again, an opportunity. So really what the digital transformation is, a data-oriented transformation of businesses to move towards, to drive business growth. So they're all doing it for self-interest. It's not because they want to be cool. It's not because they were hanging out with another CEO on the golf course and they said, hey, I'm transforming digitally. Are you? It's none of that. It actually is self-interest is driving it. And really what it is it's a disruption of traditional businesses by digital native competitors. So you can think about like, what Netflix did to Blockbuster, what Amazon does to pretty much every brick and mortar business, right? So these traditional businesses are trying to evolve. And they're trying to bridge the gap between what their digital customers already expect and what analog businesses deliver. I mean, we are all digital consumers. We expect to get things quickly. We want to be able to consume them in an as-a-service capacity. We really want to transform the way we buy. And as a result, the traditional analog businesses are struggling to keep up. So what they're trying to do is become more data-driven. They want to enrich the customer experience. They want to evolve. They want to be able to target and engage a larger addressable market, and they want to be able to transform their business to be more applicable and relevant to today's times. All of that said, number one impediment to that digital transformation is security. What they're seeing is that they're seeing things like internal denial of service attacks. They're seeing ransomware attacks that are really propagated by all of these IoT devices as being the weak point within the network. And as a result of that, that has become a big barrier to entry for them to get more down this digital transformation, this data-driven path. So security is an issue for this, and therein lies the opportunity, right? So what the customers are dealing with today is way too many vendors, don't know which way to go from a vendor perspective, way too many alerts, all kinds of stuff's happening, coming in at them, what's urgent, what's not, what do you triage, what do you troubleshoot? Manual response times are not keeping up with the attackers, right? The attackers are moving in machine speed. The defenders are moving in human speed, and that just doesn't keep up with the threat state out there, right? And then you can't find the operators, so there's a lack of trained people. 0.005% unemployment rate amongst cybersecurity operators. So you've got a real challenge in finding those people. So these are the issues that are facing your customers today. And then you've got all of the different regulatory issues that they're dealing with, right? So regardless of what line of work they're in, there's going to be some sort of regulatory compliance issue they're being faced with, right? So one of probably the new ones that's really popping up and impacting hundreds of thousands of businesses is CMMC compliance, which is basically compliance with security requirements for doing business with the federal government. So there's hundreds of thousands of DoD contractors out there and contractors that do business with the state and local governments that are going to now be required to do CMMC compliance. And that requires them to have a security operations center function that is monitoring security and all these things, which, is stressful for that small business, because if they lose a government contract, a lot of them are small businesses. And if they lose that contract, they're out of business, right? So there's a lot of worry out there, which creates opportunity for managed security service providers that are serving that market, right? So security transformation, we talked about digital transformation. We talked about the trends in managed security. So let's talk about what security transformation looks like, because if you've been in the managed security services business for a while, then you've traditionally been like a security asset manager, right? So that's pretty much what, if you ask Gartner, what is an MSSP? An MSSP is a security asset management organization, right? An MSSP is watching firewalls, watching security endpoints, watching whatever security assets are deployed. They're managing and monitoring that stuff, right? So that's all fine and good. That's been a wonderful business, still going to grow. But there's a transformation that needs to happen here as the threat states change, as the actors change. The threat actors are coming in at different, attack surfaces, and really digital transformation is something that we all need to consider if we're going to be in the security space, right? So here's what we're talking about here. So for one, the requirement to defend a larger attack surface is critically important. The old days of the bad guys attacking the outside of the firewall and finding some port on the firewall that's open, that while that still happens, there's bots that are doing that. Really, the entirety of the customer's digital landscape is an attack surface, right? So it's the endpoints, it's the local area networks, it's the IoT devices, it's the public cloud workloads that they have deployed at Amazon and Azure and Google Cloud. It's a massive surface that is being exploited by the bad guys out there. And really what it is requiring is it's requiring a look at your customer's threat landscape, and you as a service provider being able to put in security solutions that meet that requirement and that secure that particular attack vector, right? Well, if you're looking at it from an MSSP's perspective today, you're sitting there looking around going, okay, what vendors am I going to cobble together to make a solution that's going to defend all these different areas of the attack surface? And I'm here to tell you, I come out of the MSSP space. So I sold my MSSP in 2006 before I joined Fortinet. And what we did was we cobbled together best in breed security vendors, right? And we would try to get them all to talk to each other. And we did a bunch of coding. We spent lots of money trying to get all these different technologies to talk to each other. And we still struggled with it, to be honest with you. But what we've got with the security fabric here is we've got an opportunity to have a single vendor that already has integrated all these different capabilities that talk to each other through telemetry. So that reduces your DevOps time, that reduces your coding and API development time. All of that stuff has been reduced, but what it also reduces, it reduces the amount of training that you have to send your people to, right? So you don't have to get them trained on the Checkpoint and the Palo and the Cisco and the Sophos, and then the endpoints, the Carbon Black and the Sentinel-1, and you send all your people to training, and the majority of their time is spent training to deal with all these different technologies. You can focus your efforts on training with one vendor. You've got that one back to hug, one throat to choke, however you want to look at it. But really, I'm here to tell you that reduction of security vendors in your security service stack is critically important to several things. For one, your profitability, because sending people around to get trained all the time, having to be good at different technologies, that bleeds margin, right? Your seller's confidence level, right? If you do it, you have an installation and it goes sideways and the customer's ticked off, that's going to obviously impact the confidence your sellers have, right? You're dealing with customer satisfaction issues of your competencies around all these different technologies. There's no way to be an expert at all these different technologies. And so really reducing the number of vendors and standardizing your technology stack on a reduced set of vendors is allowing you to focus and become really good at a certain security vendor. And if you've got a vendor that can cover all the different attack vectors, then that is really the path to take. So in order to transform, you're going to need to add capabilities to your service offering, depending on where your customers' vulnerabilities are. And you can do that with a single vendor with Fortinet. And I think that's critically important. So the other aspect of security transformation is SD-WAN. It's a big opportunity, right? So, we'll get into exactly why, but it's booming. It's blowing up. And Fortinet is one of the fastest the fastest SD-WAN vendors in the market today. So what you've got is you've got an $8 billion total addressable market out there by 2021. 60% of businesses are deploying SD-WAN today, and the other 40% just are coming along. Trust me, SD-WAN is the way that everyone's going, because in the old days it was only the big businesses, the distributed enterprise, that had a really valid reason to do MPLS, that were on MPLS. But every business has internet. every business is starting to host. I mean, 90% of businesses are refreshing for an SD-WAN deployment as opposed to an old school, private network. 86% of businesses are migrating workloads into the cloud, and that's really what's driving all of this. So now the other aspect is that 90% of these deployments that are going out there for SD-WAN today have weak security, right? So stateful packet inspection firewall, that was all the rage when we were cooking our dinners in toaster ovens, right? So that is antiquated technology. And the fact of the matter is that most SD-WAN vendors are pure play SD-WAN vendors that add security on. And that becomes cost prohibitive. So what the customer does is go, oh, I need SD-WAN, but oh, geez, I need security too. Holy smokes, the security is going to be an add cost. Oh man, I can't afford that. Okay, give me just the basic security. And then they go down the path and they go, oh, I did what? All of these bad things are happening. I'm reading in the news about these businesses that are being breached. I don't want to become a statistic. I don't want to have that negative impact on my business that a breach is going to result in. I got to come back and look at my security again. And that's creating a massive opportunity for Fortinet. And we are absolutely kicking butt in the space right now as a result of that relook, right? Okay, so the drivers, digital transformation. What's happening basically is all these IoT devices are being put into networks to be more data-driven, become sensors, and those sensors are putting all that information up into the public cloud where they're being accessed by your customers. So that's where all that stuff's going, right? So it's going out an internet connection, going to a public network, a public cloud connection, and that's where they're basically deciphering and disseminating that information. So every single location that has these IoT devices needs broadband internet, multiple broadband internet connections, and a very reliable connection to the cloud. The other aspect is that the workers are using SaaS applications in all these sites, right? And so the old school method of going through headquarters to get out to the internet, where headquarters has all security, you do all the cleanup at headquarters, make sure that they're not bringing anything nasty back when they go out to the internet. That's a bottleneck. And that is really causing a lot of problems for businesses today, right? So really what they're doing is, I want super fast, multiple broadband internet connections into each and every location, but I need security around that. And I also need to prioritize real-time applications like voice over IP, video conferencing, and collaboration apps. I mean, we're using the heck out of them today, right? Basically that is really driving the need for SD-WAN to prioritize those critical applications. And that is one of the key drivers to the SD-WAN market growth. All right, let's talk about the sales considerations, right? So being a sales guy, I look at where's the opportunity and what do I need to take into account whenever I'm selling SD-WAN. And really, it's a service replacement, right? So it's not a bill of materials. It's not a one-time sale. I mean, maybe there's some of that out there, but customers are replacing, or supplementing a service fee, an MPLS service fee. So they're not, looking at this as a capital, one-time capital investment. They want to pay a monthly fee for this. And so SD-WAN is a service replacement. It is not an upfront capital investment. Customers are looking to buy it like OpEx, right? They want to consume it as an operational expense, not a capital expense. So what you're doing is you're providing a monthly recurring charge for a customer over a 3 to 5 year period of time, which is wonderful for you as an MSSP. You've got revenue coming in over a lengthy period of time. The value of your business, not saying that you're looking to sell your business, but if you were, the value of your business is going to be driven upward by long-term contracts of recurring revenue. So that's a wonderful thing that the customer wants to consume things that way. And golly gee willikers, you want to deliver that way. So all good. Competitive landscape, you're competing against the big carriers out there, right? And one of the beautiful things about Fortinet is that we allow any partner to compete with the bigwigs, right? So you can go out and you can compete with the tier 1 carriers that have SD-WAN built into their network, right? Because the SD-WAN vendors like VeloCloud, Viptela, Versa, they all got into the carriers early on and they started selling really actively into the carriers, and literally they built that stuff into the network. And that's all fine and good, but what if you want to switch off of that carrier and the customer wants to go with a different carrier? Well, you have to replace that SD-WAN deployment with something different, and you don't have the flexibility of just moving carriers or adding new carriers or what have you when you go down that path. So the competitive landscape is key. We are officially off the Christmas card list of the pure play vendors that used to heavily deploy FortiGate VMs onto what they're doing. And we can understand why. That's fine. We get Christmas cards from everybody. Okay, so really what you're looking at, if you look at the competitive landscape and why is Fortinet blowing up in the SD-WAN space today, well, for one, the competitive landscape is really amenable to Fortinet, right? Because what I call it is the dog's breakfast. So for those of you that have never heard that term, it was created in the UK in 1930, and what it really came to describe was, you know, the family would have their breakfast in the morning, right? And before they descend to the fields to work the fields, they'd scrape everything off the table into the bowl, and that was the dog's breakfast, right? It was just, you know, it was like turnips and eggshells and beets and meat and all kinds of stuff, right? And it was this sort of disheveled, sort of messy kind of combination of stuff that that didn't really have any uniformity, right? Well, that's what most of the vendors, the SD-WAN vendors, are doing today, is they have to cobble together a bunch of different things to create a true solution. So you're dealing with router, WAN optimization, firewall, SD-WAN functionality, web filter, all this stuff is cobbled together. And, you know, you've got dysfunctional management. You got to use a bunch of different capabilities to deploy this stuff. Deploying it is expensive. It's a nightmare. There's no threat correlation. These technologies don't natively talk to each other. And while this may make sense to do it at like a main branch or a main headquarters office, think about doing that 100 times. You can't do it. It doesn't make financial sense. You wouldn't be able to do that for a distributed enterprise customer, much less like an SMB customer that may have, you know, 15 people or something at, you know, 150 offices or whatever, right? So what Fortinet does is brings all that together into a sweet and sticky center that allows you to really unify all of that into a zero-touch deployment. We do tons of zero-touch deployment, a single management interface, one maintenance contract, one service, you know, contract, all the management, orchestration, deployment, maintenance, all in one place. Super, super easy, very easy to make money. It gets the customer to the cloud. That's where they're wanting to go. You save money getting there. You save them money getting there, and you don't break security, right? So easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Get out there, sell SD-WAN to your customer on the Fortinet platform, and you're going to have positive outcomes. So what are you selling, right? So what you're selling is application SLAs, right? You're not selling SD-WAN. You know, maybe the customers know about SD-WAN. Maybe they come to you and say, hey, I want SD-WAN. Maybe not. Really what they're probably trying to do, and I say this across the board, right, is they're prioritizing applications that are important to their business. That's what SD-WAN is, right? So if it's a public cloud application, if it's a voice over IP application, if it's a CRM application, if it's a trading application, they've all got applications that are their priorities. And what you're able to do with the Fortinet stack is be able to use the same firewall you're deploying today, you know, the fastest selling firewall, the #1 shipping firewall in the world. You're able to turn on SD-WAN features and functionality at no additional cost. So the same FortiGate firewall you deploy to secure perimeters, the Magic Quadrant firewall, right, is able to do all this SD-WAN functionality built in with no added cost, no licensing additions, no nothing, right? Out of the box, they do SD-WAN. And what you're able to do is you're able to provide an application SLA. You're able to say, okay, customer, your critical applications are voice over IP, your Azure cloud stack, and your CRM application that's hosted, right? And you basically are going to be able to provide an SLA that if the performance on those applications is not optimal, you're going to know about it. You're going to get a report, and you'll know if you've breached your SLA for that, and you'll be able to take action to do that, right? But really what you're able to do is ensure that those applications are going to be properly treated, because on the firewalls themselves, you can sit there and go, these are the critical ones. If there's a failure or the degradation of the circuit, priority circuit here, then switch over to the other circuit, or load balance across them, or whatever is needed to keep that SLA up and running. But whenever you're talking to your customer, you're talking about ensuring their critical applications. You're not talking about some whiz-bang acronym or something like that that really may or may not have any resonance to your customer, but their applications are pretty clear. All right, so broadband failover and prioritization, right? That's a no-brainer. We've been doing this for 10 years before somebody created the SD-WAN moniker, right? We've been calling it traffic shaping or a link load balancing, right? But broadband failover and prioritization, super, super cool the way we do it. We've got really granular capabilities around prioritizing applications over these different circuits. And these circuits could be anything you plug into the firewall, whether it's a broadband wireless connection that plugs in, whether it's Ethernet, you name it. Any type of internet connection can be popped into the gates. and they will figure out which the best application or which the best path is and automatically do that for the critical applications. Public cloud on-ramp, what a lot of our partners are dealing with today with this pandemic is all of a sudden they're, where there used to be a subset of teleworkers that are going into headquarters, and they're going into the headquarters branch and then through that to the public cloud connection so they can get scrubbed and cleaned up. Those minority teleworkers are now the majority, right? All of these teleworkers are now out there. So the majority of the workforce of your customers are now teleworkers, which means they're going directly to the public cloud connections. And so what SD-WAN does with the FortiGates is it gives you an ability to prioritize and create public cloud on-ramps that are secure and that are prioritized. And this is critical. This is a big growth vector for you as an evolutionary or as an evolving MSSP. And then the embedded next generation firewall. Again, magic quadrant firewall. So it's not like you got to add something in or add a cost to it. It's embedded. So that's why we call it secure SD-WAN. Okay, let's talk about some other stuff because I think the pandemic is impactful on all of this, right? So this actually was an analysis done pre-pandemic, but what we found and also in research is that in a recent 451 research survey done of 800 plus businesses, 38% of those businesses said that many, if not most, of their employees are actually going to stay in a teleworker type of role. So you've got a massive work from home shift, right? So what that means is that you've got a lot of endpoints that need security, and you got a lot of cloud connections that are coming in, right? So if you're going to be looking at expanding your business in any area, I would strongly consider looking at public cloud security and MDR. Big growth industry, right? So MDR basically is a managed detection and response. It's a combination of technologies that you manage and provide incident response to. And the cloud security aspect is just taking the same firewall that you're used to deploying on a premise and doing it into the public cloud environment, right? So it basically is in front of those cloud workloads and providing security for those cloud workloads. So big growth area and only exacerbated by the pandemic. So you're now dealing with a massive shift where you've got all these teleworkers going in public access to the clouds. These teleworkers are now working in a local area network. My 15-year-old daughter just walked up because something happened to her computer, right? Probably the North Koreans. Well, I'm now on that network, right? I got another daughter that's probably doing the same thing, attracting all kinds of bad attention with TikTok and whatever else they're running, right? So now think about millions of teleworkers descending into their home offices, surrounded by teenagers that are doing really crazy stuff. That creates a vulnerability situation within that environment for a work machine that is connecting to work applications, right? So that's where endpoint security becomes critical. That's where you see SD-WAN becoming more important, right? So I have SD-WAN installed at my house. You've got power users and executives all over the world now that need reliable connections. They're getting SD-WAN and SD-Branch installed. SD-Branch basically lets you make sure that the teenagers' machines are off on a network where they can go be the apple of the North Korean's eye if they want to be, but they can't come over and see my work computers, right? So a lot of opportunity out there created by the pandemic, but I would strongly consider looking at these different areas. So must-haves. Great study again, pre-pandemic, right? So this is only growing. It's only blown up. I would strongly suggest those of you look up the 451 research survey. You can go look it up online and watch the webinar. It's COVID-19 impact on cybersecurity. That is well worth looking at because it's going to tell you where the market's headed and what kind of rebound we're going to see from the pandemic for managed security service providers and the cybersecurity industry generally. And it's all pointing at this stuff. It's all pointing at cloud. It's all pointing at MDR. So you can see these areas are the must-haves in your offering if you want to move towards the next generation of security. And I am beating this horse dead. And I love horses too. So literally this is, again, MDR is critically important. Generally speaking, how would you rate the effectiveness of cybersecurity services your company is engaged in for the past 12 to 18 months? MDR is top of the stack. Guess what? Customers want threat detection and response. Security asset management is great, got to have it, but threat detection and response is where the industry is headed. So we are here to help you move down that path. Hey, speaking of MDR, what does it look like on Fortinet? Well, for one, let's say you're looking at MDR, maybe you're already doing it, right? Maybe you're outsourcing it to some other partner that provides it because incident response is not rocket science, it's brain surgery, right? And it costs a lot of money to do it, a lot of time and effort. It's tough to be good at incident response. So what you would have to do as an MDR provider is you would need to cobble together a bunch of different technologies to make an MDR solution. Number one, endpoint, right? So EDR is that endpoint. If y'all haven't checked out in Silo acquisition, now called FortiEDR, because we're brilliant from a marketing perspective. We put Forti in front of whatever we do. You don't have to figure out what it does. Just take Forti out of it, and there it is. That's what it does. Add SIM into that, and you have the basic functions for an MDR solution. But literally all these other things give you an ability to become an incident response, threat detection and response capability, and do it with a single vendor. And this stuff is already talking to each other. It's already sharing threat intelligence. It's already sharing automation capabilities together. You don't have to go write that stuff. You don't have to go hire a DevOps guy to come in and do, API connections, or DevOps gal, right? And to do those API connections. So literally it makes it easy for you to get into the game. You only have to focus on your relationship with one vendor, your training on one vendor. It just makes it super simple. The blue stuff in here are all really good ones, right? So for the Deceptor, for example, you want to sell something to a customer, put Deceptor into the network, and basically it's a honeypot that's going to attract all kinds of nastiness. You come in and you go, hey, look, this is what Deceptor found. And then the customer says, okay, what do I need to fix that? Well, you need boom, 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 and boom, right? And done. So Deceptor is a great sales tool, and it's a part of a detection and response capability that encompasses all these other things, right? Now, depending on how sophisticated you want to go with the MDR piece, you could add in SOAR for the response aspects and the automation aspects. You could add in NAC if you got customers that have a lot of IoT devices in their network and they really need more granular capabilities there. The gates and the switches, they all provide a bunch of security in the LAN that allows you to segment the network and to be responsive and aware of what's going on in there. So detection and response, it's hot, hot. All right, here we go. How do we help you get there? This is all fine and good, Talent, love it. But how are you going to help me get there, right? So the way we help you get there is through the SOC life cycle, right? So what it is it basically it's a pathway to service profitability for partners of any size and scope. No matter where you are on this timeline here, right? MSSP 1.0 to 4.0. Either you're aspiring MSSP, you're an MSP now, or you're a VAR now. You want to go more down the path of service orientation or security services. We've got a capability to get you into the game. Hardware as a service options through exclusive, wildly popular programs. So basically you can consume the entirety of the Fortinet security stack as a monthly fee. It's not a lease. It's basically a line of credit for you as a partner to be able to come in and offer security services where you're adding your management costs and your margin on top of something you're consuming, the security stack that you're consuming from exclusive networks in a monthly fee capacity. So this obviously keeps your capital liquid. It gives you an ability to offer an OpEx service to your customers. That's what they want, right? And you don't have to be the bank. Because at the end of the day, being the bank is sometimes it makes sense for you to do that where you own the kit yourself and deliver it as a service. Sometimes it makes sense for you not to use your own money for that, right? So either way, we've got a way for you to get into the game. Excuse me, cloud management. FortiCloud multi-tenant, simple, inexpensive method of multi-tenant management for firewall switches, APs. So if you're getting into the SD-WAN game, you want a cloud-hosted capability to do the multi-tenant management, great. Okay, so you start stacking that up. You're becoming enormously successful. All of a sudden, you're like, holy smokes, I'm no longer an aspiring MSSP. I'm an MSSP. Wow, okay, I'm a 2.0. So what do we do to help you from that perspective, right? This is where your sophistication level increases, right? This is where you're starting to do more. You're starting to deploy more devices. You have more devices under management. This is where you're starting to look at more sophisticated management capabilities. FortiManager, cloud capabilities, FortiAnalyzer from a reporting capability. The team basically here at Fortinet helps you incorporate these different components into your service offering. And again, available as hardware as a service through exclusive networks that allows you to really add to your offering without having to really become CapEx intensive. Okay, so you've evolved from the left to right. You're now an MSS 3.0. Some of you may already be here, right? You may already be doing the security asset management. You may already have the SOC, right? Let me step back to 2.0 because the component to this that's critically important is the Security Operations Center. Security Operations Centers are expensive. And so literally standing up a Security Operations Center, $2 million to stand it up, $2 million a year to run a 7x24 SOC with about 16 people, right? So if you're not ready to do that, maybe you want to do that, but you got to, you know, walk before you run. Security Operations Center partners, right? So SOC authorized partners, we bring those to you. They're partners that focus on providing Security Operations Center functions to other partners who then wholesale that, mark it up, and sell it to their customers, right? You own the customer. The SOC authorized partner helps you offer sophisticated capabilities around the SOC operations aspect of things, right? So you can get into the game right away and be a sophisticated operator from a delivery perspective, but you don't have to, you know, stand up that SOC, manage it, and deal with it, right? Maybe you start moving that way. Maybe you want to bring that SOC in-house, and that's fine. This is a stepping stone to offer Security Operations Center functions without having to stand it up yourself out the gates. And again, you know, maybe on 3.0, you bring that stuff in-house, you start to add sophistication to what you're doing. You're bringing in FortiSIM, doing it yourself, where the SOC authorized partner was doing FortiSIM in a wholesale capacity for you and incorporating other aspects of the SOC operations function. You start bringing that stuff in-house. You start putting together the MDR capability, and Fortinet is here to help you. The MSSP team, literally, there's 16 of us, and we live and breathe service profitability for our partners. That's what we focus on all day long, right? And literally, we will help you incorporate these technologies. We will provide you best practices, capabilities, engineering support to integrate this stuff into your back office. Tons of support from the MSSP team as you start to move from left to right here. And then 4.0, right? The visionary MSSP. This is where you can see into the future, or at least far enough into it to keep your customer out of the headlines, right? So literally here, what we're doing is helping you get more sophisticated. We're helping you add SOAR to what you're doing. You're now offering a full MDR stack. You're incorporating FortiSOAR into what you're doing and providing incident response and more sophisticated capabilities, playbooks and case management, compliance reporting. You're doing a bunch of other things. Again, the Fortinet MSSP team basically broken up into two cohorts. You've got the business development side and you got the engineering side. We're helping you put the service creation aspects in. And then we're also helping you with that engineering aspect to help incorporate the back office, help get your engineers going with the fast track trainings that are specific to MSSPs, all this kind of stuff we're doing to help you move down the path, right, of becoming a more sophisticated operator. So let's talk about the MSSP program. It's open for all partners that want to get into the game, right? So really the only designation that we expect of you is that, you know, 50 to 60% of your revenue is service oriented. If you're a service oriented partner, this is the program for you. If the majority of your business is resale and you're kind of like, I want to dip my toe in services, it's not for you, right? Be a reseller. There's nothing wrong with it. We love resellers just like we love the MSSP partners. But this specialized support that you get as an MSSP partner is oriented towards services. We live it, we breathe it. It is our daily life. We literally live in that space, right? So what the MSSP partner program does for you is it gives you access to different programs like hardware as a service, like FortiSIM for MSSP, where you can consume the SIM licensing in a simple device-based model, right? Different programs around consumption. So you'll see us doing pretty much everything we make in software is eventually going to be available as a consumption model for MSSPs. And here's the kicker, right? Here's the catch. You got to own the technology. That's what separates you from a reseller. If you're a reseller, you're selling it to the customer. The customer owns the technology, right? Maybe you manage it, maybe you don't. If you're at MSSP, we expect that you own the technology. We can't really make a consumption model work for partners that are selling the kit to the customer, right? There's reasons for that we can get into on a phone call, but we expect that you own the kit and deliver it as a service. It's going to give you more value represented from the customer's perspective about what you do for them. You're the easy button to a security challenge that they're facing. We help you accelerate your partner development. We do this by assigning you to expert overlays that will help you build the service creation for today and what's coming next, right? You want to build an MDR offering and you need some assistance there. You're doing security asset management today. This team will help you make that move. We're always going to be here to help you evolve into what's next in theater, right? And things are changing, right? Cybersecurity industry isn't stagnant. It changes over time. We'll help you get there. We'll help you with the multi-tenant management. We'll help you with the automation aspects. And then we want to support your ramp to revenue, right? We'll help you align with our sellers. We'll help you with your different go-to-market strategies, helping guide you down the path. Supporting you with exclusive networks to drive demand generation, so that you drive revenue and you can increase your service margins, right? So the program, basically, some of the cool ones. Hardware as a service, which I mentioned, right? So that's pretty much anything in the Fortinet technology stack. An open line of credit to you as a partner. You own the kit out the gates. It's not a lease. You basically, the only thing at the end of the contract term, whatever the 3, 1 year, whatever you're doing, you basically just need to renew the support. That kit's yours. You don't have to buy it out. You don't have to give it back. I mean, it's your kit, right? And so it allows you to go into deals and understand what your monthly cost for a deal is going to be every time. You don't have to sit there and redo it because you got to go redo a lease and figure out what the customer's credit looks like. So it's not a lease. It is a line of credit for you as a partner, giving you a consistent and predictable amount of money that you would be able to have as a cost of goods sold for a hardware inclusive service. FortiSIM for MSSP, fantastic program, wildly popular, basically allows you to consume the FortiSIM capability in a simple device-based model. You don't have to figure out what the events per second are. You don't have to figure out how much storage, none of that garbage, right? You basically can just consume it by devices. And guess what? As you get into the different tiers, like you step up into the tier licensing, your cost goes down. So as you become more successful with FortiSIM for MSSP, your margins are increasing because your cost per device is going down as you step through those tiers. And that's retroactive to all the devices that you have deployed. Pretty awesome, huh? SOC authorized partners. These are the folks that will help you stand up a security operations center capability that you can wholesale to your customer. These are partner-oriented partners. They are not end customer-oriented partners. They don't do firewalls. They basically focus on SOC, so they don't compete with what you're doing. And they really are an enabler. This has been an enormously successful program and really, really good stuff. So if you are interested in getting introduced to a SOC authorized partner, please let us know. FortiVet, a program near and dear to my heart. You're gonna have a challenge finding people, right? And so literally the FortiVet program is fantastic from that perspective. It's free to you as an employer, free to the veteran to be a part of it. We'll get into that in a little bit more detail. But these are programs that help you get going, right? And we'll continue to create new programs moving down the road to help you become more successful in this space. To give you an example of what it looks like, I'm an aspiring MSP. I want to start adding hardware as a service or a monthly OpEx sort of security service. What does that look like? Well, hey, guess what? You don't have to go figure it out the hard way, going out and failing before you figure out what's going to be a big seller. We're here to tell you what works, right? And we know what works because we can see the numbers of the partners that are doing it well. So we'll save you the learning curve, right? So it's simple. Services-oriented models, the OpEx service model, the simpler the better. Complexity is your enemy. Good, better, best, small, medium, large, extra large. It's not rocket science, but it's amazing how many partners we run into that go down the path of learning it the hard way and having to come back and redo it because their offering is too complex. What does an SD-WAN service look like? Here it is, good, better, best, right? So you add this as a component to your managed security service offering, and the only cost to you is your human cost. It's how much time and effort do your smart humans need to configure this stuff. That's your cost. There's no additional licensing that you have to pay to get SD-WAN functionality because the FortiGates out the box support SD-WAN features and functionality. So this is what an SD-WAN offering looks like, a good, better, best SD-WAN offering. Pretty slick, easy peasy, right? Good stuff. Okay, and we also, where's the links? Okay, so we also provide SD-WAN MSS sales training because guess what? We want you to be successful selling it. So we actually provide video on-demand training to help you become successful selling the SD-WAN service as a service, not as a product. Look at that guy, Rod Serling, telling you to sell more SD-WAN. Hey, where are the links here? You EXN folks took the links out. Anyway, just reach out. We'll get you the links to the SD-WAN Managed Security Service Sales Training. We also have Managed Security Services Sales Training that just talks about selling managed security services. Generally, it's for your sellers. If your sellers are used to selling widgets, this teaches them how to sell services. Really easy, on-demand video training from a guy you probably know and enjoy already. All right, so facilitating the transition of military veterans, 250,000 men and women getting out of the military every year, right? And all of them are looking to replace that sense of purpose and camaraderie that they will miss when they leave the military. For those of you that are veterans, you can probably attest to this. The fact of the matter is the cybersecurity industry is naturally a natural fit for veterans. They're dealing with force protection. They're dealing with working in teams, using technology to accomplish a mission. I mean, they just make great fits. And guess what? They're not going to curl into a fetal ball if things go sideways. They're not going to take a 2-hour lunch break because their Instagram posts are taking longer than I expected. So really great crowd of folks for you to be looking at. This slide's old. We've got 200 plus veterans hired already. We've got hundreds and hundreds of partners that are engaged in this. Free to you as a partner, free to the veteran to be a part of it. Fantastic program. It's available in the US, Canada, UK, and Australia now. So we are basically providing these veterans with technical training. So they're able to access NSC 4 and 5. So if you want to hire a veteran, if you want to get your certifications, because guess what? You can't be an MSSP just because you want it. You actually have to want it and put an investment in and become certified. And technical certifications are huge for us. We care a lot about that. So if you want to become an MSSP, you're going to need the technical certifications to do so. And you can hire a veteran with those technical certifications and boom, doing well while doing good. Good stuff. Call to action. Evaluate your business and where you want to go. Know thyself. What percentage of your business is services? What do you want it to be, right? This is how we're looking at it, right? Because for us, if you're not doing 50% or more of your business in services, then you're really not in the service game. If it's a dip in your toe in the water, it's kind of okay. There's nothing wrong with it. But really, we look at you as a service provider whenever you're doing 50% or more of your service of your business's services. If you're not doing it now, but you want to move that way, we care about you. We want to help you. What new services are you looking at adding, right? Are you delivering SD-WAN and MDR today? If not, we can help you go down that path. Are you helping your customers migrate workloads into the cloud? Man, if you are, we want to talk to you because there's such a gap in that right now. We really need more partners that are helping Fortinet, and our sellers move secured workloads into the cloud. Massive market opportunity. Fortinet doesn't sell anything direct. I forgot to mention that, right? So we don't sell anything direct. Every deal that happens has got a partner in it, right? And we have hundreds of field sellers that are out there selling directly to customers that we need partners to help. So if yes to any of these, engage your exclusive team. Alex is fantastic. She promises not to use any profanity the next time you talk to her. She's contributed a great deal to my own knowledge of profane terminology, but she's a fantastic operator. She knows the business. She's got a great relationship with Fortinet, and we're big fans. So anyway, here's who you can reach out to. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Just a recap, I did wear my best flip-flops for this presentation today, so I'm really a big fan of exclusive. So I put on my best flops and board shorts for this prezo. But here, just in closing, #1 cybersecurity vendor in the world today. Forgot to mention that performance is key, right? If you want to turn on security functionality, putting an underpowered firewall in there is not going to make your customer happy. You can't bill for it if you can't turn it on. So critically important for high performance. Strong financials, we're crushing it today. Advanced threat intelligence, and the kind of support that you see from this team is singular from a Fortinet perspective. Excellent. All right. And you're welcome. Thank you all. I hope you've enjoyed this TGIF presentation. It's not too early to have a cold, frosty beverage, so it's 4:30 somewhere. I hope you all are enjoying and kicking off the weekend here to a good start. All right, there it is.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for that phenomenal
Exclusive people,
presentation.
are you there?
We really appreciate you taking time out of your day to present to our partners here. Please make sure you follow us on social media to stay up to date with all of our latest news, offerings, and updates. The second of our So You Think You Know Fortinet quizzes of Q2 drops today, so please be sure to check it out. You can find us on any of the platforms depicted at the top of the screen under the relevant account name shown. And once there, you can test your mettle with our fun but informative Fortinet focus quiz to be in with a chance of winning one of 4 $100 Amazon gift cards. Next slide, please. Please feel free to contact us either directly via your exclusive networks account manager or via myself. My details are listed here below. If you have any technical questions or would like a one-on-one demo, please feel free to email our fantastic engineering team using the alias below. We'd absolutely love to hear from you. Next slide, please. And thank you. Thank you ever so much for joining us today, everyone. And thank you so much again to Stephen for presenting this wonderful presentation. At this point, I would like to hand over to my colleague, Josh Matos, to go through any questions we have in the chat.
Thanks, Stephen and Alex. And so we do have a few questions here. How do I get started with hardware as a service? Stephen, I think you're on mute.
I am on mute. Golly gee. Right there. So support_US is at exclusive networks. That'll get you cracking.
Awesome. And how do I sign up as a partner?
So become a partner page at Fortinet.com.
Awesome. And
make sure that you specify, hold on one second. Make sure that you specify your line of business is MSSP. Otherwise, you will be basically tagged as a reseller. So if you're service oriented, make sure that you tag your line of business as MSSP.
Sweet. And how do I sign up for the veterans program?
Oh yes, veterans at Fortinet.com. And that will get you to Marine Corps Master Sergeant Jay Garcia, who runs the program, and he will get you into the candidate feed.
Awesome. That seems to be all of our questions that have not been answered in the chat window. So thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Alex. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a great weekend. Thank you.